In my opinion, fiction can be more impactful than nonfiction because it gives the authors the freedom to express their ideas fully. Their views and philosophies aren't bound by reality and can be dramatized and exaggerated to bring these concepts to life. A perfect example of this is East of Eden, Steinbeck. This was actually the first of Steinbeck's work I've read, so I wasn't really sure what to expect. I was deeply impacted by the passages to the point where they stuck with me for hours after putting down the book. However, I will not claim this book is perfect. There are a few flaws to point out later in the video, but overall I believe this is a great piece of literature and should be read if you want to deepen your understanding of the human condition. Before we move on to the next section, I would like to provide a little more context about me and how I came to read this book. I've always been a fan of fantasy ever since I was a kid and never really tried to broaden my literary horizon. That was until, while scrolling Instagram, I came across a reel that had classic literature recommendations. This was interesting. I've never been close to the genre and decided to give the book that was on the top of the list a try, which happened to be Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky. That book opened my eyes to a new literary world. I became obsessed with classical literature after that and made a list of books that I needed to read. That is how I came to East of Eden. I'd heard it recommended by a few people and was curious why the book was so well received. And I found out. Before delving into the book itself, I would like to familiarize you with the plot and setting. The story primarily takes place in the Salinas Valley, California, during the late 1800s to early 1900s. It follows two families and their struggles as they attempt to carve their way through life. Through these families, we are able to discover some of the hardships felt by those during the time, as well as uncover some of the most intimate and raw displays of the human soul. This brings me to one of its flaws. Since the book was written so long ago, 1951, there are a lot of slurs and outdated language that some may find offensive. I would not say that it takes away from the overall impact of the story, but they do stand as a solemn reminder of where we used to be. Moving on, however, I believe the reason Steinbeck can expose these pieces of humanity is through the genuineness of his characters. Interactions held between them feel as though I'm sitting in the same room, and it creates a strong sense of connection and is one of my favorite parts of the book. Next, let's take a look at some of the most common themes. A few that stuck out with me were: what makes someone good or evil? Are we as a people able to overcome our nature? And is the truth worth the pain it can bring? These themes allow Steinbeck to build a rich world full of fantastic characters and bring to light the perils of being a human. If you have any interest in trying to understand yourself better or changing how you think, then this is one of those books you must read. People usually summarize the whole story piece by piece and let you know their thoughts and feelings throughout. I'm not doing that. I want you to be able to experience most of the book for the first time, just as I did. However, what I will do is bring up a few parts of the book that were particularly impactful to me and explain their significance. This will mostly be through a few quotes and a scene that stuck out to me as important. Let's start with my favorite quote from the book, because it made me realize something about myself. Some people think it's an insult to the glory of their sickness to get well, but the time poultice is no respecter of glories. Everyone gets well if he waits around. I have struggled with depression my whole life. The weird thing is, when I start to feel better, there's a part of me that doesn't want to feel better. I want to wallow in the pain and feel all the suffering like a punishment to myself for thinking I could be okay. I honestly feel that now. Looking back on a depressive episode, I couldn't have possibly been struggling that much. All the pain I felt is a distant memory, but I know it was real because the evidence is there. I feel like a lot of people have gone through something similar, and it's strange to find a quote that exemplifies exactly what I felt. This is where Steinbeck excels, setting up situations or characters that allow the reader to see a piece of themselves explored in the story, opening up the opportunity to really look inside yourself and ask questions. The next quote does a similar job in making me think. There's more beauty in the truth, even if it's a dreadful beauty. The storytellers at the city gate twist life so it looks sweet to the lazy and the stupid and the weak. And this only straightens their infirmities and teaches nothing, nor does it let the heart soar. Being able to accept the truth without all the floweriness and pomposity adds to the soul and gives it wings to fly on. My uncle died when I was around 10 years old. He was the most prominent male figure in my life and was always there for me. I knew that he had contracted hepatitis and was told that it was caused by sketchy tattoos he got. At the age of 22, I found out the real truth. He had a drug problem, and he got sick because he used dirty needles. My family tried to save me from the truth, and while I understand why, knowing the truth lets me see that he was struggling and that it cost him everything. I still love him and the memories we had together, but now I have a fuller picture of him as a person. The truth is a very powerful thing, and being able to see it that way is important for you to grow. Once again, I am led to look inward by my past experiences and see things in a new way because of this book. The final piece of text I will bring up is probably the most important in the book, so if you've made it this far and don't want to spoil anything, then I would recommend skipping to the conclusion. Around halfway through the book, Adam Trask's wife leaves him with 2 children to take care of, and he loses a lot of shine he had. Samuel, who is the patriarch of the Hamilton family, comes by to say a last goodbye to Adam and his servant Lee. While they're talking, a passage in the Bible comes up, one that had been talked about when they named the 2 boys. The passage concerns Cain and Abel, and for some context, in case you don't know the story, Cain and Abel are the sons of Adam and Eve. They both bring offerings to God, and while Abel's offering is accepted, Cain's is not. Because of this, Cain kills his brother and is forsaken. Within their story, specifically Genesis chapter 4, verse 7, if thou doest well, shall thou not be accepted. And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door. And unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. The passage is of great interest to Lee because of the wording, thou shalt. To him, this is a guarantee that Cain will be able to overcome his sin. Another interpretation Lee finds is do thou, which is a command, carrying a different meaning. The final translation from Hebrew is thou mayest, which carries the greatest weight of all. This means that the choice to overcome sin is left to us. The individual has a choice, and with that comes the decision to be good. All the suffering, all the pain we go through doesn't define us. We have the divine right to overcome it. I'm not religious, but the truth in these words don't escape me. It is very beautiful to know that there's a choice, and that's what makes us human. To wrap things up, I just wanted to say that this book holds a near and dear place to my heart. It made me seriously contemplate aspects of my life I hadn't thought about. Steinbeck's ability to bring to life the struggles and intricacies of being human are astounding. This book has left its impact on me, and I hope it does the same to you. Also, I had a great time making this video, and I hope a few of you at least enjoyed it as much as I did. There are a few books and video games I would like to review in the future, but any suggestions would be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for watching, and see you guys next time.